The engine coughed once, twice, then nothing. Just the crunch of gravel under the tires as my car rolled to a stop on that empty back road. It was 2 a.m., the kind of dark that presses in, and I was miles from anywhere. My phone was dead, screen black as the field stretching out. The cold seeped through the door, wind whistling like a warning. I'd left the city to escape the noise in my head, chasing quiet after everything fell apart. Now this landscape swallowed me whole, unfamiliar and unyielding. Panic rose, sharp in my chest, distant coyote howls echoing the ache. Then headlights cut the night, slow and steady. A truck approached, engine rumbling low. I'd been driving for hours, the breakup still raw like an open cut. Her name was Lena. We'd shared a life in the city for 3 years, but small doubts grew into cracks, then a full shatter. She said I was too restless, always needing more than the 4 walls we built. So I packed a bag and headed west, toward these rural stretches where no one knew me. Conservative towns, the kind where whispers could cut deeper than city indifference. I thought the open road would clear my head, let me breathe without the weight of eyes judging who I loved. But now, stranded here, that freedom felt like a trap. The car wouldn't turn over. I popped the hood, the metal cold against my palms, and stared at the engine like it might confess its secrets. Flashlight from the glove box shook in my hand, beam dancing over wires and belts I barely understood. I twisted a hose, checked the battery. Nothing. The chill deepened, frost edging the windshield. Wind slipped through the cracked window, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine. My fingers numbed as I fumbled with the cables, breath fogging the air. Each failed crank of the key twisted the knot in my gut tighter. What if someone came? Out here in a place like this, a woman alone at night, especially one like me, could draw the wrong kind of attention. I'd heard the stories. Small towns with narrow views where holding a woman's hand meant hiding or leaving. My heart raced at the thought of explaining myself, of the questions that might follow. Better to wait it out, hope for dawn. But the isolation gnawed. I huddled in the seat, jacket pulled tight, and tried the phone again. Dead. No signal bars, no lifeline. The dashboard clock ticked past 2:15, each minute stretching. Memories surfaced unbidden, pulling me under. Lena walking out the door for the last time, her suitcase wheels echoing on the stairs. Before her there was Maria, who faded after her family's disapproval turned cold. And further back, the high school friend who vanished when rumors spread. Each abandonment layered like sediment, building this wall I carried. Out here, with the stars indifferent above, it all pressed down. I was 38, supposed to have it figured out, but nights like this made me feel exposed, like the world saw through the armor to the quiet longing beneath. Tears, pricked, hot, and unwelcome. I wiped them away, focusing on the dark horizon. The cold settled into my bones, a steady ache. I rubbed my arms, the wool of my sweater rough under my nails. Outside, the road curved into shadows, fields whispering with wind. No cars passed, no distant lights at first. Just me and the growing quiet, thick as fog. My mind wandered to what-ifs. What if no one came? What if help arrived and saw too much? The sticker on my bumper from that Pride March. The way I carried myself. Hesitation rooted me to the seat. Call for a tow? Admit I was lost? The panic built, a low thrum, then, faint at first, lights flickered in the distance. 2 beams, bobbing like eyes in the night. A vehicle, maybe a truck, engine growl faint over the wind. My pulse quickened, relief warring with wariness. Friend or threat? Out here, lines blurred. I sat up straighter, peering through the glass. The lights grew brighter, tires crunching closer. It slowed, then stopped a few yards back. Door creaked open, boots hit gravel. A figure stepped out, silhouette tall against the headlights. She moved with purpose, no hesitation. Flashlight beam sweeping toward my car, the farmer's daughter, though I didn't know it yet. She approached slow, boots crunching gravel like she owned the road. The flashlight beam hit my window. Steady, not frantic. I rolled it down a crack, heart thudding against my ribs. You all right in there? Her voice cut through, low and even. No edge of suspicion. Just concern, wrapped in that rural drawl that softened the words. I nodded, throat dry. Car died. Won't start. She shone the light on the hood, already popped, then back to me. Her face came into focus under the brim of a worn cap, strong jaw, eyes dark and unflinching. Mid-30s, maybe. Hair tied back loose, strands escaping like they'd fought free. Work boots scuffed from use, jeans faded at the knees. She looked like she could handle a storm without blinking. Name's Clara, she said, stepping closer. No questions about why I was out here alone. No prying. Just action. She circled the car, peering under the hood with a squint. Battery looks fine. Might be the alternator or fuel line. Coal does that out here. Her hands moved sure, testing connections, wiping grease on her thigh like it was nothing. Brave, that was it. Open to the night, to a stranger's mess. I watched her, the way her shoulders squared against the wind, strong hands, calloused from work, not soft city skin like mine. A spark flickered unbidden in the pit of my stomach. Not fear, but something warmer, pulling at the edges of my isolation. Her gaze met mine across the hood, steady in the headlights' glow. No judgment, just that quiet assessment like she saw the chill in more than my bones. Can't fix it here, she said, finally straightening, but I can tow you to my place. Got tools in the barn, and it's warmer than sitting out. She didn't wait for protests, just hooked the chain from her truck bed to my bumper. Movements practiced, efficient. The metal clinked, secure. I slid out, legs stiff from the cold, and she nodded toward the passenger side. Hop in. We'll get you sorted. The truck cab smelled of hay and leather, faint diesel under it all. Engine rumbled to life, headlights sweeping the road as she eased forward, my car trailing steady behind. No jerking, just smooth pull, like she'd done this 100 times. I sank into the seat, the vinyl creaking under me. Silence settled at first, thick but not uncomfortable. The dashboard lights cast her face in soft blue, highlighting the line of her neck. You from around here? She asked, casual, eyes on the road. Winding dirt paths now, rutted from rain, flanked by corn stubble under the starry sky. Silos loomed like silent guards in the distance, moonlight silver on their sides. City, I said, voice small. Just driving through. Needed to get away. The words hung, but she didn't push. Just nodded, like she understood the weight without details. These roads'll do that. Swallow you up if you're not careful. Her tone eased the knot in my chest. A little. The truck bounced over a pothole, and she glanced over. Cold out there. Grab the blanket behind the seat. I reached back, wool rough against my fingers, still warm from where it had sat. Draped it over my lap, the heat seeping in, chasing the night's bite. First real comfort since the engine quit. Safety in the simple act. Her without asking twice. We passed a creek, water glinting black under stars that felt closer here, away from city haze. No streetlights, just the truck's beam carving the way. Clara hummed low, some old tune I didn't know, her fingers loose on the wheel. Farm's just up the ridge, she said. Folks around here help each other. No questions if you don't want 'em. That steadied me more, the unspoken promise. My fear ebbed, replaced by curiosity about her, the way she drove like the land was part of her, brave against the dark. The cab felt smaller as miles slipped by, her presence filling it without crowding. Hay scent clung to her shirt, mixing with the clean sweat of a long day. I caught myself glancing at her profile, the steady rise of her breath. Attraction sparked subtle, like embers under ash. Not rushed, but there, warming the edges of my guard. Town's small, she continued, voice threading the quiet. Conservative, yeah. But out on the farm, it's different. Just the land and what you make of it. Her words eased deeper, peeling back the panic. I wrapped the blanket tighter, the first sense of safety rooting, fragile, but real. The farmhouse appeared sudden, lights glowing soft from the porch. Isolated, backed by dark woods, barn squat and sturdy beside it. Clara killed the engine, my car settling behind. We'll look at it tomorrow, she said, turning to me. Her eyes held mine, warm in the dim. Come inside. Coffee's hot, and you look half froze. I followed her up the steps. Boots, echoing on wood, the door creaking open to a rush of warmth. The door swung in, and heat wrapped around me like a held breath. The kitchen glowed soft from a lantern on the counter, flame steady in its glass. Wood smoke hung in the air, mixing with fresh coffee grounds, dark and bitter. Clara flicked on a low light overhead but kept the lantern burning like she preferred the flicker over harsh bulbs. The room felt lived in, not staged. Worn oak table, chairs mismatched, a sink piled with dishes from one meal. No frills, just the kind of solid that comes from hands shaping a space over years. She shrugged off her jacket, hanging it by the door, and nodded toward a stool. Sit. I'll get that coffee. Her movements were easy, pulling mugs from a shelf, pouring from a pot still warm on the stove. Steam rose, curling like mist off the fields after rain. I slid onto the stool, the wood cool under me, and let my shoulders drop a fraction. My body ached from the cold, muscles loosening slow in the warmth. Clara slid the mug across, black liquid sloshing gentle. Sugar's there if you need it. Milk in the fridge. I wrapped my hands around it, the ceramic hot against my skin. Thanks. Black's fine. She checked me over then, eyes scanning, not prying, but practical, like sizing up a fence post for rot. You hurt anywhere? Feet numb? That road's rough on thin shoes. Her concern landed soft. No fuss. I shook my head, sipping the coffee. It burned going down, grounding me. Just cold and tired. She nodded, leaning against the counter, her own mug steaming. No rush in her, just presence. We sat like that a minute, the lantern light playing shadows on the walls. She didn't fill the quiet with questions, and that eased something deep. My mind still raced from the breakdown, the dark road, but here it slowed. Clara took a sip, then set her mug down. Storm rolled through last week. Took out half the fence line by the creek. Fixed it myself, wire cutters and all, while the rain soaked everything. Her voice carried that flat certainty. No boast. Dad's been gone 5 years now. Heart gave out during calving season. Mom helps when she can, but mostly it's me and the land. Bravery threaded her words, the kind earned in mud and midnight checks on livestock. She handled crises alone, not out of choice, but because the farm demanded it. I saw it in the set of her jaw, the faint scar on her knuckle from some forgotten snag. The story pulled more from her, casual, like sharing the coffee. One night last winter, a cow got stuck in the snowdrift. Wind howling, visibility 0. Dug her out with the tractor, then carried her back to the barn on a sled. Thought I'd freeze solid, but she calved fine come spring. She chuckled low, dry, the sound warming the room more than the stove. Her eyes met mine, unflinching, sharing that resilience without weight. I felt my guard slip, body relaxing into the stool. The tension from the road ebbed, replaced by a quiet relief. No need to explain the city scars, the breakup that sent me driving into the night. You're safe here, she said simple, like stating the weather. I nodded, the words sinking in. I left someone back home. Things ended bad. Needed space to think. Minimal, no details, but enough to test the air. She didn't lean in for more, just stirred her coffee slow. Space is what this place gives. And takes, sometimes. No pressure, just acknowledgement. The fire crackled in the next room, drawing us there without words. She led the way through a narrow hall to a living room with a stone hearth. Logs burned steady, embers glowing red. I sank into the couch, the cushions deep, and she added a split to the flames, sparks rising like stars. We sat side by side, not too close, the fire's heat building between us. Silence settled. Companionable, no forced talk to bridge it. The wood popped, sending a scent of pine through the air. I watched the flames dance, my mind quieting. Memories of Lena faded to the edges, the isolation from the road feeling distant now. Clara stared into the fire, too, her profile sharp in the glow. Gets lonely out here, she murmured after a while, voice blending with the crackle. But the quiet teaches you to listen. Her words hung, inviting without demanding. I felt seen, not dissected, my restlessness, the hidden parts I carried. The farm's rhythm seeped in, steady as her breath. She shifted, reaching for her mug on the side table. Her hand brushed mine as she steadied it, calluses rough against my skin. The touch lingered a beat, warmth spreading beyond the ceramic. Not accidental but gentle, testing. My pulse quickened, subtle like the first thaw after frost. Her eyes flicked to mine, dark and steady, holding the moment. No words, just that shared heat, pulling at something dormant in me. The fire mirrored it, flames licking higher. Night deepened outside, windows black as pitch. The clock on the mantel ticked past midnight, the house settling with creaks. Clara stood, brushing ash from her hands. Guest room's down the hall. Clean sheets, extra blanket. No sense driving back to town tonight? Roads are tricky in the dark, and your car's no shape for it. Her offer landed solid, practical, but laced with care. I nodded, the idea of staying rooting me further. I'd like that. She led me there, the room simple, bed with quilt, window overlooking the barn. Sleep if you can. We'll tackle the car come morning. Door clicked soft behind her, leaving me in the quiet. The farmhouse's warmth holding the night at bay. Sunlight filtered through the thin curtains, pulling me from sleep. Roosters crowed sharp outside, joined by the low bellow of cattle in the distance. I stirred under the quilt, the fabric heavy and worn soft from years of use. My body felt rested, the night's chill a memory, but the farmhouse hummed with a new rhythm, boots on floorboards, a door latch clicking. Clara's voice carried faint, murmuring too. Something, maybe an animal. I sat up, the bed creaking, and rubbed the sleep from my eyes. The room smelled of aged wood and faint lavender from the linens. For the first time in days, the knot in my chest loosened a touch. I dressed quick, pulling on yesterday's jeans, the denim stiff from the cold. Down the hall, the kitchen held steam from a kettle, coffee brewing fresh. Clara stood at the sink, rinsing a mug, her back to me. She turned, hair loose now, falling dark over her shoulders. Morning. Sleep all right? Her smile was easy, no trace of the night's strangeness. I nodded, sliding into a chair. Better than the car seat. She poured coffee, handing it over with a nod to the cream on the table. We drank in quiet at first, the window framing fields gold in the dawn light. Dew clung to the grass, sparkling like scattered diamonds. Chores wait for no one, she said, setting her mug down. Come if you want. Might clear the cobwebs. I followed her out, the screen door banging soft behind us, the air bit crisp, carrying scents of earth and manure, alive with birdsong. The barn loomed close, red paint peeling in strips. Inside, shadows danced from hay bales stacked high, dust motes swirling in sunbeams. Clara grabbed a bucket, filling it from a trough, water sloshing cold. Start with the chickens. Grain's over there. She pointed to a feed sack, her hands sure as she latched a gate. I scooped feed, the kernels rough against my palms, scattering it into the coop. Hens clucked eager, pecking at my boots. Clara watched a moment, then joined, her shoulder brushing mine light. Not bad for a city hand. Laughter edged her voice, warm. I felt useful, the simple motion grounding me amid the vulnerability still lingering from the road. My hands shook a little at first, but steadied with each toss. She moved to the cows next, hay fork in hand, pitching bales into troughs. The rhythm pulled me in. Forklift, toss, repeat. I took a turn, muscles protesting the weight, but the effort burned away some fog. We worked side by side, sweat beading despite the chill. Dust settled on our boots, caking the leather like a second skin. It felt like shedding, old fears crumbling under the grit, the steady push of labor. This place, Clara said, wiping her brow with her sleeve, it don't forgive mistakes, but it rewards the try. Her words hung as she led me to the fence line, checking posts with a tug. I helped hammer a loose nail, the mallet thudding solid. A mishap came when I slipped on loose dirt, spilling a pail of water. It splashed our legs. Cold shock. Clara burst out laughing, deep and unforced, her hand steadying my arm. Welcome to farm life. Happens to everyone first time. The sound drew me out, trust budding in the shared clumsiness. I laughed too. The release surprising, easing the walls I'd built. As we paused by the corral, leaning on the rail, she turned serious. Rural like this, challenges stack up. Droughts that kill crops, storms that rip roofs. Folks in town cling tight to what they know. Church Sundays, family lines passed down. Her gaze drifted to the horizon where fields met sky unbroken. Hidden things thrive here too. Queer lives, tucked away. I know a couple down the road, been together 20 years, call each other cousins at the store. Town eyes watch, but out on the land, you breathe freer. Hope threaded her tone, quiet but fierce. I felt it stir in me, confronting the isolation I'd carried, the fear of being seen, discarded again. Back home it was easier to hide in crowds, I said, voice low. But alone? It eats at you. Clara met my eyes, unflinching. Her acceptance a steady anchor. No pity, just the nod of someone who'd walked similar ridges. Hiding wears you down. But finding your ground? That's where hope roots. The words settled deep, my inner fears shifting under her gaze, like soil turned for planting. We moved to the garden next, pulling weeds from rows of greens. My fingers dug into the earth, cool and yielding, unearthing roots tangled tight. Each pull mirrored something inside, vulnerability exposed but handled gentle. Clara knelt beside me, her knee brushing mine, the contact casual yet charged. Laughter came again when a weed snapped back, smacking my cheek with mud. She wiped it off with her thumb, touch lingering a breath. Steady now, she murmured, eyes crinkling. Trust flowed easier, her openness pulling stories from me. Fragments of city nights, the ache of unspoken loves. She listened, sharing her own. A high school crush silenced by town talk. A quiet rebellion and stolen glances at county fairs. The morning stretched, work's rhythm weaving us closer. Dust on our boots thickened, marking the hours, each step shedding more of my guarded shell. By noon, arms ached, but a lightness filled the spaces between. Clara straightened, brushing dirt from her hands. Enough for now. Lunch, then we'll eye that car. Might be a loose belt or worse. Her words turned practical, but the undercurrent promised more. Revelations waiting in the grease and tools, deeper than the morning's quiet bonds. Afternoon sun hung low, slanting gold across the driveway, where my car sat hooked to the truck. Clara wiped her hands on a rag, grease streaking her knuckles like dark veins. Let's see what she's hiding, she said, popping the hood again. I followed, sleeves rolled up, the air thick with oil and warmed metal. Tools clattered from her toolbox, wrenches, pliers, a flashlight for the shadows under the engine. She handed me a socket, her fingers brushing mine, calloused skin rough against my smoother palm. The touch sparked, brief but electric, pulling my gaze to hers. She held it a second, then nodded to the bolts. Hold this steady. We leaned in close, shoulders nearly touching, the engine's heat rising like a shared breath. She twisted the wrench, muscles flexing under her shirt, sweat beating at her temple. I tightened the hose, she pointed to, grease smearing my arms, black and sticky. Fuel lines pinched, she murmured, voice low over the faint creak of metal. Our hands worked in tandem, brushing again as she passed a rag, once, twice. Deliberate now, the friction warming more than the work. My pulse thudded, steady as the wrench turns, the isolation from last night fading under her nearness. Dust kicked up from our boots, settling on the gravel like fine ash. The repair dragged, complications in every layer, a loose wire sparking faint, a belt frayed from the cold. Clara cursed soft under her breath, but her hand stayed sure, probing deeper. I wiped sweat from my brow, the rag leaving a streak. You're good at this, I said, voice threading the quiet. She glanced up, eyes dark with focus. Farm teaches you to fix what breaks. Can't wait for help out here. Her words carried weight, the kind from years of holding things together alone. We stepped back as the engine coughed to life, rough but running. Relief washed through me, but it tangled with something deeper, the shared labor binding us tighter. We cleaned up at the barn sink, water cold from the pump, splashing our faces. Soap lathered rough, cutting the grease, but her scent lingered. Earth and hay clinging under it all. "Walk with me?" she asked, drying her hands. I nodded, and we headed to the fields, boots sinking into soft soil. Cornstalks rustled dry, wind whispering through them like secrets. The path wound narrow, her stride matching mine without effort. Silence felt easy, filled with unspoken things. The way her arm swung close to mine, the horizon pulling us forward. Birds wheeled overhead, cries sharp in the blue sky. I broke the quiet first, words spilling as we crested a rise. That breakup, it wasn't just one fight. Lena and I built something, or thought we did. Shared an apartment, dreams of travel, but the city wore us down. She wanted steady, I wanted more. Space to breathe without hiding who we are. My voice cracked on the last. Vulnerability, raw in the open air. Clara stopped, turning to me, her face open, no flinch. "Hiding's a heavy load. My family's pressuring me to sell off acres, marry into the co-op like Mom did, keep the farm right for the town. But it's mine. Fought for every inch." Her confession landed brave, eyes steady on the fields she'd claimed. Wind picked up, cool against my skin, tugging at my shirt like a gentle hand. We kept walking, the path dipping to a creek bed, water trickling low over stones. "I'm like you," she said quieter, stopping by a wild apple tree, branches heavy with fruit, red and tart. She reached up, twisting one free, offering it to me. Our fingers met again, lingering this time, the skin's warmth cutting the breeze. I bit in, juice sharp on my tongue, bursting sweet under the sour. She took a bite from hers, lips glistening, eyes holding mine longer now. The taste grounded me, real and immediate, mirroring the pull between us. Comfort turning tentative, affection blooming slow. She confessed then, voice brave against the rustle. "Town expects wives and kids, church picnics on Sundays. But I've rebelled quiet, stolen nights with women passing through. Letters from a girl in the next county we burn after reading. Never out loud, but it's there, defying the stares at the feed store." Her words hung, open and unflinching, bravery shining in the way she didn't look away. I felt it echo my own hidden aches, the heartbreaks that left scars. "I've lost people to that fear," I admitted, stepping closer. "Maria left when her dad found out. Lena couldn't handle the whispers at work." Tears pricked, but Clara's hand found my arm, steady, her touch a quiet anchor. We sat on a fallen log, the wood damp under us, wind brushing our skin like a caress. Silences stretched, filled with understanding. No need for more words, just the shared weightlifting. Her shoulder pressed to mine, warmth seeping through fabric. Eyes met again, longer, the air thickening with it. Affection stirred, tentative. A lean into her side, her hand covering mine on the log. Not rushed, but real. The connection deepening like roots under soil. The field stretched endless, but in that moment, the world narrowed to us, the bravery of her openness pulling me toward hope. Sun dipped lower, shadows lengthening across the corn. Clara stood, brushing dirt from her jeans. "Supper's waiting. Mom left stew. Nothing fancy, but it'll warm us." Her smile invited, the evening meal promising more, honest talk over candlelight, the ties between us ready to weave tighter. The kitchen filled with the scent of stew as Clara stirred the pot, steam rising thick and savory. Chunks of beef, carrots soft from slow cooking, potatoes breaking apart on the spoon. She ladled it into bowls, the ceramic clinking against the oak table. 2 candles flickered in the center, flames steady in mason jars, casting shadows that danced across the walls. No overhead light, just that warm glow, pulling the room close. I sat across from her, the chair scraping faint on the floorboards. My hands rested on the table, fingers tracing the grain, rough like the day's work still under my nails. We ate slow at first, spoons scraping bowls, the quiet broken only by the fire's crackle from the next room. Stew warmed through me, rich and grounding, chasing the afternoon chill. Clara's eyes caught the candlelight, dark pools reflecting the flame. "Mom's recipe," she said, voice low. "Keeps you going through long nights." Her words wove and easy, pulling stories from the day, the way the engine finally turned, the apple's tart bite by the creek. I shared more, fragments of city life slipping out, late shifts at the coffee shop, stolen kisses in alleyways behind bars. Her laughter came soft, real, as she leaned forward, elbows on the table. Attraction hummed under it, mutual now, the air thickening like the steam between us. The meal stretched, bowls emptying slow. Her foot brushed mine under the table, accidental at first, then lingering. I didn't pull away. Stories turned deeper, weaving our pasts like threads. "That girl from the next county," she said, fork pausing midair. "We met at a fair, hands brushing over cotton candy sticks. Wrote letters for months, hiding them in fence posts. Ended when her family moved, but it taught me. Desires don't fade easy." Her gaze held mine, brave, the candle flame jumping in her eyes. I felt the pull, my own attractions surfacing. Lena's laugh in crowded rooms, the fear that always shadowed it. Clara listened, head tilted, her presence urging without words. Conflict rose then, sharp in my chest as the last spoonful cooled. "Car's running tomorrow," I said, voice catching. "I'll head back, fix what's waiting in the city." The words tasted bitter, the fragile bond we'd built feeling like glass underfoot. Leaving meant losing this. Her steady hands, the farm's quiet hold. What if it ended here? Another connection clipped short by distance and doubt. Clara set her spoon down, deliberate. "You could stay longer. Roads don't run out of turns." Her tone urged true. No pleading. Just that unflinching call to face what pulled. I looked away, candle wax dripping slow, pooling white. Staying true sounds simple, but out there. Fear tangled my words, the city's indifference. The rural stares if I lingered. She reached across, her hand covering mine, palm warm and sure. True to what matters, not the noise. Her touch anchored, but tears pricked anyway, hot trails down my cheeks. I wiped them, but more came. The weight of abandonments, crashing back. Claire stood, chair pushing back, and pulled me up into her arms. Her embrace was solid, chin resting on my shoulder, breath steady against my neck. Resilience flowed between us, her strength mingling with mine, rediscovering hope in the hold. We stood like that, bodies close, the kitchen fading to just us. Town gossip risks flickered in my mind, whispers at the diner, eyes narrowing at two women walking fields together. But the farm's isolation wrapped us safe, woods dark beyond the windows, no judgments reaching this far. "Folks talk," she murmured into my hair, "about everything from crop yields to who drives what truck. But out here, it's our ground." Her words rang authentic, rural life laid bare, the church suppers where secrets simmer under pie crusts, the co-op meetings heavy with unspoken rules. Yet in this bubble, safety bloomed, her arms a barrier against it all. Subtle shifts came next, natural as the candles flicker. We sat again, but closer now, chairs angled in. Her hand found mine under the table, fingers lacing tight, thumbs tracing slow circles. Bodies leaned, knees touching, heat building in the space. Attraction wove explicit, her breath quickening as eyes met longer. "I've hidden desires too long," she declared, voice brave against the quiet. Open heart spilling despite the conservatism clinging to these. Hills, expectations of rings and heirs, Sundays in pews judging sideways. Wanting you like this, not passing through but staying in the pull. Tears welled again, but joy mixed in, hope reigniting through her resilience, mine echoing back. The emotional peak crested, embraces tightening as sobs shook me. She held firm, whispering against my temple. "We're stronger than the talk. Rural or not, this is real." I nodded into her shoulder, the farm's authenticity grounding us, the creak of beams overhead, stew's lingering scent, isolation turning sanctuary, hands clasped tighter under the tablecloth, bodies inching nearer, the bond no longer fragile but forged. Night deepened, candles guttering low. Clara pulled back, eyes shining. Walk with me? Moon's up, barn path clear. Her invitation led out, the door creaking open to cool air, the night walk promising admission under stars. We stepped out into the night, the door latching soft behind us. Moonlight spilled silver across the yard, turning gravel to frost under our boots. The air cooled sharp, carrying the scent of turned earth and distant rain. Clara led the way to the barn path, her stride sure, shadow stretching long ahead. I followed close, the day's warmth still clinging to my skin, her nearness pulling like gravity. The house lights faded, leaving just the moon and stars, vast and indifferent above the ridge. The path wound gentle, flanked by the barn's dark bulk on one side, fields whispering on the other. Wind tugged at my hair, cool fingers brushing my neck. Clara slowed as we neared the barn door, half open, hay scent spilling out thick. She stopped there, turning to face me, her face pale in the moon's glow. Eyes locked on mine, unflinching, the quiet between us thickening like fog rolling in. I can't let you go tomorrow without saying this, she murmured, voice low against the night's hush. Her hand reached for mine, fingers lacing tight, calluses grounding my palm. The touch sent a jolt, warm and sure, cutting the chill. My breath caught, heart thudding steady as a post driven deep. She stepped closer, the space between us shrinking to nothing. From the moment I saw you in that car, something shifted. Not just help, want. For you, here, with me. Her words spilled brave, open against the rural dark, where expectations loomed like fence lines. Moonlight caught her jaw, the line of her throat, and she leaned in, lips brushing mine, tentative at first, then firm. The kiss ignited slow, her mouth warm, tasting of stew and the day's salt. Hands rose to my face, thumbs tracing my cheeks, pulling me deeper. I reciprocated full, arms wrapping her waist, body pressing close. The barn wall met my back, rough wood biting through my shirt, but I didn't care. Her lips parted, tongue gentle, exploring with a hunger held back too long. Heat built between us, passion blending with the quiet promise of her touch, steady, not rushed, like roots finding soil. I tangled fingers in her. Hair, loose strands silk under my nails, and she sighed into the kiss, body yielding yet strong. The world narrowed to her breath, her scent of hay and earth, the way she held me like the farm itself, unyielding. We broke apart, gasping, foreheads pressed, breaths mingling in the cool air. Her hands stayed on my hips, thumbs circling slow, anchoring the moment. This, I whispered, voice rough. I feared it, losing it before it starts. Fears surfaced then, raw in the moonlight. Isolation's grip, the city's pull, dragging me back to empty routines, whispers in small towns if we tried more. Clara pulled back slight, eyes searching mine. Future visits, comeback weekends, help with harvest, defy the miles, the stairs. Her words cut the doubt, brave against the dark, promising bridges over the isolation we'd both known. I nodded, tears pricking again, but joy laced them now. Yes, we'll make it. Comfort payoff washed through, embraces tightening as we leaned against the barn door. Passion simmered in her kiss, renewed, lips claiming mine fiercer, hands roaming my back, pulling shirt from waistband to touch skin. Quiet promise hummed under it. The ongoing connection not fleeting, but woven like fence wire, strong through storms. Her body fit mine, curves pressing, heat building in waves. I traced her collarbone, feeling pulse jump, her moan low in her throat. Not just desire, but home found in the hold, resilience shared in every touch. We sank to the hay-strewn ground outside the barn, moon painting us silver, legs tangled, her weight half over me, kisses trailing my neck, breath hot. Together, she murmured against my skin, we'll navigate it all. Brave resolution settled deep. Plans forming in whispers, drives back monthly, her visiting the city edge, facing town, challenges open, No more hiding desires, no yielding to gossip at the co-op or church steps. We'd walk fields hand in hand, defying the conservative weight. Our connection, the quiet rebellion. Her fingers slipped under my shirt, tracing ribs, drawing shivers that had nothing to do with cold. Passion peaked soft, bodies moving in rhythm, clothes rumpled but not shed, the intimacy enough in the promise. Final image burned clear, our silhouettes against the stars, hands intertwined, backs to the barn as moon climbed higher. Fields stretched dark, but light bloomed between us, hope rooting firm. She kissed my temple, lingering, then stood, pulling me up. Dawn comes early, but this, us, stays. We walked back slow, arms linked, the farmhouse lights welcoming now, not just shelter, but start. Morning light filtered gray through the curtains, pulling me awake. Coffee brewed distant, Clara's footsteps soft on the floorboards. The car waited outside, engine humming when I turned the key, fixed solid from her hands. We exchanged numbers by the porch, her gaze lingering warm, a final brush of fingers sealing the night. Renewed hope carried me as I drove the ridge. Her silhouette, waving from the steps, the road ahead no longer empty. The engine turned over smooth that morning, a low rumble cutting the dawn quiet. Clara stood by the porch, arms crossed loose, her eyes holding mine across the gravel. We exchanged numbers scribbled on a scrap from the barn, her handwriting steady, mine shaky from the night's echoes. A final gaze lingered, warm as the coffee she'd brewed, promising more than words could carry. I slid into the driver's seat, the door creaking shut, and pulled away slow, her silhouette shrinking in the rear view. The road curved ahead, fields waking under the rising sun, but something had shifted inside me. No longer just escape, but a thread pulling back. To her, to this place where isolation cracked open to connection. That quiet bond, built in grease and moonlight, rooted deep. It wasn't the city's rush or hurried flings. It was real, resilient, the kind of love that defies backroad dark and small-town stairs. Driving away, hope hummed steady, like the tires on fresh asphalt. We'd talk tonight, plan the next visit, weave our worlds closer despite the miles. If this quiet connection resonates, the slow burn of finding someone who sees you, holds you through the storms, subscribe for more sapphic stories of finding home. Share yours below. Let's build this space together.